Chosen one, a private detective has been stalking you, not for justice, not for truth, but because someone who shares your blood paid them to destroy your life. This family member hired a professional investigator to dig up dirt that would frame you for murder and steal millions from your inheritance. The truth about what they found out is so outrageous that it's about to trigger the largest multi-state murder investigation in decades, and you're about to discover that you weren't just a target. You were the one person standing between a serial killer and their next victim. Let me tell you how this all started, because understanding the beginning will help you see just how calculated this betrayal really is. 3 separate investigations were happening simultaneously without your knowledge, and they're all about to converge in ways that will leave you speechless. There was money involved, significant money. We're talking about an inheritance worth hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, properties, business assets, investments that were supposed to be distributed among family members when your elderly relative passed away. Someone in your family looked at those numbers and decided they deserved more, much more. They convinced themselves that you didn't earn your share, that you abandoned the family when things got tough, that you walked away when you should have stayed. This family member has been building a character for themselves over years. The devoted one, the caregiver, the person who sacrificed everything to take care of your elderly relative. They've painted themselves as the martyr who stayed when everyone else left, who held vigil during the final months, who deserves the lion's share of what was left behind. Every social media post, every conversation with neighbors, every interaction with other family members was carefully crafted to reinforce this image. Meanwhile, they were conducting their own private investigation into your life. Long before they hired the detective currently sitting in that car, they were gathering information about you, your whereabouts during key dates, your financial situation, your relationships, your weaknesses. They were building a profile that would later be used to frame you for something unthinkable. The detective found evidence of this preliminary stalking that goes back 3 years. Phone records showing calls to your workplace under false pretenses, GPS tracking data from a device secretly placed on your car, credit reports pulled using stolen personal information, social media accounts created specifically to monitor your activities. Your family member had been studying your life with the intensity of a professional intelligence operative. They documented your daily routines, down to 15-minute intervals. They knew what time you left for work, which routes you took, where you shopped, who you spent time with. They photographed your home from multiple angles and researched the layout through public records. They even interviewed your neighbors, while pretending to be conducting a neighborhood survey, gathering information about your habits and character. The elderly family member they claimed to have cared for so devotedly, that person didn't die naturally. What the detective discovered will make your blood run cold, and it connects to evidence that's been hidden for months in places you'd never imagine. Those final months of illness weren't just unfortunate health decline. Someone was systematically poisoning your relative, slowly, methodically, making them sicker and weaker while playing the role of the concerned caregiver. Every meal prepared, every drink served, every medication administered. It was all part of an elaborate murder plot designed to look like natural causes. The detective found receipts for unusual purchases, documented patterns of deterioration that coincided with specific visits, and medical records that tell a story of deliberate harm disguised as loving care. The murder method was sophisticated and nearly undetectable. Your family member researched toxins that would mimic natural aging and chronic illness. They ordered substances online using false identities and shipping addresses. They studied medical literature to understand dosages that would cause gradual decline without triggering immediate suspicion. The planning involved creating fake email accounts, using prepaid credit cards and establishing alibis for every purchase. Hospital visits were strategically timed to coincide with periods when the poison would cause the most dramatic symptoms. Your family member would arrive just as your relative became violently ill, playing the concerned caregiver who discovered them in distress. Medical staff consistently praised their attentiveness and dedication, never suspecting they were witnessing carefully orchestrated performances. You were supposed to be the scapegoat from day one, and the evidence of this planning goes back further than anyone imagined. The detective uncovered a timeline that shows your family member began plotting your downfall over the years. There are notes in their handwriting discussing how to eliminate the competition for the inheritance. There are Google searches on their devices about untraceable poisons, inheritance law, and how to contest wills. There are text messages to friends complaining about how you didn't deserve anything because you never visited and only cared about money. The level of premeditation is absolutely staggering. They researched your schedule to know when you'd be out of town during critical periods. They studied your personality to predict how you'd react to accusations. They even practiced emotional responses they would display when discovering evidence of your supposed crimes. Physical evidence was being planted in your home during your absences. Your family member had keys made to your residence and would enter when you were at work or traveling. They placed items that could later be discovered by investigators. Poison containers with your fingerprints, forged documents suggesting financial desperation, fake correspondence discussing inheritance disputes. Every piece of evidence was designed to paint you as someone with motive, means, and opportunity to commit murder. The detective found security footage from your neighborhood showing your family member entering and leaving your property on multiple occasions. Timestamps correspond perfectly with periods when you were verifiably elsewhere. They wore disguises and used different vehicles to avoid detection, but modern surveillance technology captured everything. Your family member also manipulated your elderly relative's perception of you during their final months. They shared fabricated stories about conversations you supposedly had, expressing anger about the will. They showed doctored screenshots of text messages where you allegedly complained about feeling entitled to more money. They gradually poisoned your relative's mind against you while literally poisoning their body. The detective they hired to find dirt on you? This person has their own secrets. Major secrets that your family member discovered through their own investigation. We're talking about financial crimes, tax evasion, money laundering operations that could put this detective away for decades. Your family member found bank records, traced money transfers, and documented illegal activities that the detective thought were completely hidden. The detective's criminal activities span multiple states and involve sophisticated financial fraud schemes, offshore accounts, shell companies, fake identities. The detective had built an entire criminal enterprise that was generating millions in illegal profits. They had been operating for over a decade without detection, until your family member's investigation exposed everything. The blackmail evidence is comprehensive and devastating. Your family member hired their own investigators to surveil the detective before approaching them. They documented meetings with criminal associates, photographed money exchanges, and recorded conversations about illegal activities. They traced money flows through multiple accounts and identified every participant in the detective's criminal network. Your family member didn't just threaten to expose the detective's crimes. They had already prepared evidence packages ready to send to law enforcement, the IRS, and the detective's professional licensing board. They had screenshots, financial documents, and witness statements all ready to go. The detective was given a choice: destroy you or be destroyed themselves immediately. The arrangement was simple but terrifying: find evidence to incriminate you, or have your own crimes exposed to the authorities within 24 hours. The detective had no choice but to dig into your past, searching for anything that could be twisted into evidence of wrongdoing. They were expected to find proof that you were involved in your relative's death, that you had motive and opportunity, that you were the greedy family member who killed for money. Every piece of evidence they uncovered cleared your name completely. Not only did the investigation prove you had nothing to do with your relative's death, but it also exposed the real killer's elaborate deception. The detective now holds proof that would exonerate you entirely and send the real murderer to prison for life. The evidence is so comprehensive and damning that any prosecutor would consider it an open and shut case. Your alibi for every critical date is ironclad. Bank records, employment records, travel receipts, security footage. Everything confirms you were nowhere near your relative during the periods when poisoning occurred. Cell phone data shows your location at all times, with multiple independent sources confirming your whereabouts. The investigation revealed that you actually tried to help your relative multiple times. You offered to hire private nursing care when you noticed their declining health. You suggested second opinions from specialists in other cities. You even offered to move them closer to better medical facilities. Every offer was rejected by your family member, who insisted they could provide better care personally. This is where multiple threads of this story begin to intertwine in ways that create the perfect storm of justice and revenge. The following is a message from Mike, founder of the Obsidian Inner Order, powered by Astral Atom. Look, I know you came here for your chosen one video, but I need a minute. If I don't speak this into the field now, I might never forgive myself. Some of us were born into fire, abused, exiled, haunted by truths no one around us could hold. That doesn't mean we're cursed. It means we were chosen to walk through the veil and come back with the map. Inside the Obsidian Inner Order, we gather every week, live on Zoom, face to face. And when I say real people, I mean it. A former military drone operator who now uses his mind as the remote. A millionaire CFO who walked away from everything to become a psychic in Noosa. A spiritual healer once trapped inside a satanic cult. A seer, a sage, a soul who left Mormonism and found the Gnosis instead. These are the ones who gave it all up when their calling hit. And that's just a glimpse. And every call is recorded. So when you're alone, when you're crawling through the dirt of your own awakening, you can press play and feel the field again. This is not for everyone. But maybe it's for you. Can you see yourself among us? Join the Obsidian Inner Order. Link in the description. Thank you all for supporting the broadcast. We quite literally could not do this without you. The person who hired them, your murderous family member, has no idea what the detective actually found. They're expecting a report that will help them destroy you and claim your inheritance. They've been sending increasingly aggressive messages, asking for updates, demanding to know when they'll receive the fabricated evidence they paid for. They're preparing to use whatever lies they think were discovered to either have you arrested or force you to give up your claim to the family assets. They've already started the next phase of their plan. Legal documents have been drafted to contest the will. Character witnesses have been prepared to testify about your supposed greed and neglect. Media contacts have been reached out to, preparing for a public campaign to destroy your reputation. They're planning to simultaneously attack you legally, financially, and socially once they receive what they believe will be devastating evidence from their hired detective. The legal strategy involves multiple coordinated attacks, civil suits alleging elder abuse and financial exploitation, criminal complaints filed in multiple jurisdictions, restraining orders based on fabricated threats, professional complaints filed against your employer suggesting criminal behavior, Social media campaigns designed to destroy your reputation and relationships. Your family member has been recruiting other relatives to support their narrative. They've shared carefully edited versions of events that paint you as the villain. They've offered financial incentives to family members who agree to testify against you. They've threatened to cut off others who refuse to participate in destroying your reputation. Meanwhile, the detective is trapped in an impossible situation that's getting more dangerous by the day. If they reveal the truth, they expose the real killer, but also risk having their own crimes revealed in retaliation. If they stay silent or fabricate the report their blackmailer expects, an innocent person could be destroyed while a murderer walks free with stolen money. The detective knows that the moment they hand over the real evidence, your family member will likely destroy it rather than face justice. This person has already killed once to secure their financial future. They won't hesitate to eliminate evidence that threatens their freedom. The detective has started varying their daily routines, checking for surveillance and researching personal security measures because they know they're dealing with someone capable of murder. The detective discovered that your family member has been researching their personal life as well. Credit reports have been pulled, social media has been monitored, and family members have been approached under false pretenses. Your family member is preparing contingency plans in case the detective becomes a liability. 3 separate law enforcement investigations are closing in on different aspects of this case, without any of the investigators knowing how connected everything is. The first investigation involves the detective's financial crimes. Federal agents have been tracking money laundering operations across multiple states for over 2 years. They've identified key players, documented transaction patterns, and built cases against dozens of participants. They're getting close to making arrests, and the detective knows their time is running out. The federal investigation has uncovered connections to organized crime families and international money laundering networks. The detective's crimes are part of a much larger criminal enterprise involving drug trafficking, human trafficking, and political corruption. When arrests are made, the resulting prosecutions will make national headlines. The second investigation was quietly opened by a suspicious coroner who noticed irregularities in your relative's death. Medical records were flagged for unusual patterns that suggested systematic poisoning. Tissue samples were preserved beyond normal protocols. A secret exhumation order is being prepared by prosecutors who suspect murder. The coroner's investigation revealed similar suspicious deaths in the same geographic area over the past 5 years. Elderly victims, inheritance disputes, and family members who served as primary caregivers. The pattern suggests a serial killer who's been operating undetected for years. The third investigation is being conducted by insurance investigators who noticed suspicious circumstances around large life insurance policies that were taken out on your relative shortly before their death. Massive payouts are being held up, pending further review, and investigators are asking questions about beneficiary changes and policy modifications. The insurance investigation revealed a pattern of policy manipulation across multiple insurance companies. Premiums were paid through untraceable methods. Beneficiaries were changed shortly before deaths occurred. Medical examinations were conducted by doctors who later turned out to have fake credentials. Your murderous family member has no idea that any of these investigations exist. They think they've gotten away with the perfect crime and are just waiting for their hired detective to provide the final piece of their plan to destroy you. The detective realizes they have one chance to save themselves while doing the right thing. They can approach prosecutors with the evidence against your family member and use it to negotiate immunity for their own crimes. They can be the hero who exposed a killer while protecting themselves from prosecution. Federal agents would jump at the chance to trade immunity for information about a murder for inheritance scheme. The detective has discovered something else that makes this situation even more explosive. Your family member has done this before. Hidden in the evidence are connections to the suspicious deaths of 3 other relatives over the past 7 years. Similar patterns of systematic poisoning, similar insurance policies, similar inheritance disputes. The detective realizes they're not just dealing with a one-time killer. They're dealing with a serial killer who's been murdering family members for money across multiple states. The first victim was a relative who died after a mysterious illness that lasted several months. Medical records show the same pattern of gradual decline, with your family member serving as the primary caregiver. The death occurred shortly after. This relative changed their will to leave everything to your family member. The second victim was another family member who died in what appeared to be an accidental drowning. Your family member was the only witness and inherited a substantial life insurance policy. The detective found evidence that this relative had been drugged before the drowning, making it impossible to swim to safety. The third victim was an elderly family member who died from what doctors called natural causes related to a chronic condition. Your family member had been managing their medications and inherited their home and savings. Toxicology tests that were never performed would have revealed evidence of medication overdoses that caused fatal complications. Each murder was more sophisticated than the last, showing a killer who was learning and evolving their methods. The detective found detailed notes showing how your family member studied each death, analyzing what worked and what needed improvement. For future murders, this discovery changes everything. The detective now knows that staying silent doesn't just protect one murderer. It protects a serial killer who will certainly kill again. The weight of future victims' blood on their hands becomes unbearable when combined with the knowledge that they could stop this pattern right now. Your family member has already identified their next victim. The detective found evidence of surveillance being conducted on another elderly relative who recently inherited money from a spouse's death. Purchase orders for the same toxins used in previous murders. Research into the new victim's medical history and daily routines. The pressure is building to a breaking point from multiple directions simultaneously. Your family member has started making direct threats about revealing the detective's financial crimes. They're demanding progress reports every few days, asking specific questions about what evidence has been found and threatening to release everything to authorities if they don't get results soon. They've prepared anonymous tip packages ready to send to law enforcement agencies at the first sign of betrayal. The threats have become increasingly personal and specific. Your family member has researched the detective's family members, including children and elderly parents. They've made it clear that exposure of the detective's crimes would destroy not just their freedom, but their family's financial security and safety. Law enforcement agencies are closing in on the detective's other crimes through their separate investigation. Wiretaps have been authorized, financial records are being subpoenaed, and arrest warrants are being prepared. Surveillance teams are already monitoring the detective's activities. Time is running out for the detective to cut a deal by providing information about bigger fish. The insurance investigation has identified your family member as a person of interest and is preparing to freeze all payouts pending a full investigation. This means your family member is about to lose access to the money they killed for, which will make them even more desperate and dangerous. Your family member has started taking steps to eliminate loose ends. They've been asking pointed questions about the detective's family, their address, their daily routines. Surveillance equipment has been purchased using fake identities. Research has been conducted on making deaths look accidental. The detective realizes that once they deliver their report, whether it's truthful or fabricated, they themselves might become the next victim. The detective found evidence that your family member has been researching their background extensively. Credit reports, social media monitoring, contact with former associates under false pretenses. They've identified the detective's financial vulnerabilities, personal relationships, and potential pressure points. Purchase orders show your family member has acquired the same materials used in previous murders. They've researched the detective's medical history and identified health conditions that could be exploited. They've studied the detective's daily routines and identified opportunities for accidental encounters. The final decision comes down to a choice between self-preservation and justice, with the added knowledge that failure to act will result in more murders. Will the detective take the evidence to authorities and risk everything to see a serial killer brought to justice? Will they find the courage to expose the truth that would clear your name and restore your rightful inheritance? Will they realize that their own survival depends on stopping someone who's already planning their elimination? Multiple federal task forces are about to converge on this case from different angles. The financial crimes investigation, the insurance fraud investigation, and the suspicious death investigation are all pointing toward the same family. When they connect these dots, the resulting case will be one of the largest inheritance murder conspiracies in recent history. The convergence is happening faster than anyone expected. Computer algorithms designed to detect criminal patterns have flagged connections between the separate investigations. Federal prosecutors are scheduling emergency meetings to coordinate their cases. Task force commanders are realizing they're investigating different aspects of the same criminal enterprise. Right now, Chosen One, these decisions are being made. Somewhere, a person is staring at documents that prove your innocence while wrestling with the biggest moral choice of their life. The evidence that would free you from a carefully constructed, framed job exists, and it's in the hands of someone who holds your entire future in their trembling fingers. The truth about your family members' crimes is documented, verified, and ready to be revealed. The elaborate murder plot designed to steal your inheritance and destroy your reputation has been uncovered in stunning detail. Justice is literally one phone call away from being served, and that call could happen at any moment. Everything hinges on whether one person can find the courage to do what's right, even when doing right means risking everything they have left. Your vindication, your inheritance, your freedom from this elaborate frame job. It all depends on a detective's conscience, winning out over their fear. The most incredible part? You're about to discover that someone tried to destroy you and failed spectacularly. Not only will you be cleared of crimes you never committed, but you'll also learn that you were specifically targeted because you pose a threat to people who have built their lives on lies and stolen money. The universe protected you by putting your fate in the hands of someone who, despite their own flaws, couldn't bring themselves to participate in destroying an innocent person. Your story isn't ending with betrayal and loss. It's beginning with truth, justice, and the restoration of everything that was stolen from you. Multiple law enforcement agencies are about to receive the shock of their careers when they realize how many of their separate investigations connect to the same criminal enterprise. Your family member's house of cards is about to come crashing down in ways they never saw coming. The evidence will trigger the largest multi-state investigation into inheritance murders in decades. When the full scope is revealed, your case will become a landmark prosecution that changes how law enforcement investigates suspicious deaths among wealthy families. Chosen One, your vindication is coming, and it's going to be more complete and more dramatic than you could ever imagine. The person who tried to frame you for murder is about to be exposed as a serial killer, and you're about to inherit not just what was rightfully yours, but everything they stole from multiple victims over many years.